We are talking about the vampire movie Redwood. This one written and directed by Tom Patton. Now, if you've ever seen the movie 30 Days of Night, this film almost seems like a companion piece to that film. Now, it's not kind of anything to do with that movie or, you know, set in Antarctica or anything like that, but the vampires seem like very similar vampires that you would have seen in that movie. So what I'm kind of trying to say is that don't be expecting romanticized kind of like, you know, gothic vampires here. These are vampires that are savage, that are, you know, pretty damn ugly, and you know, kind of like they did in the 30 Days of Night. So the story here focuses on this young couple. The male has got leukemia, so he has decided he kind of wants to live his final days with a bit more kind of adventure in his life. So he and his girlfriend decide they're going to hike up this particular mountain, you know, to kind of obviously just to really make his final days that much more memorable. Obviously there's some personal drama between the two of them. They are advised to stay on the path, and there's particular areas that they are kind of thinking, you know, we should kind of stay away from, although we don't know why. We get a cameo from Buffy the Vampire Slayer's Nicholas Brendon, obviously popping up again in a vampire-related property, but he's not in that whole lot, so don't get too excited. So what do we think of Redwood? So I've obviously given my comparison here. I do feel the vampires here are very similar to those seen in 30 Days of Night. So you can almost watch this as, maybe not a sequel, but maybe it kind of exists in the same world, because they do seem very similar. I actually quite liked the vampire portrayal here, because they do seem like feral animals that are just kind of wild and dangerous because of that. What I will say in particular is the fantastic sound design in this movie, because I really do feel it is the most scariest thing. There's some great scenes where we have these guys camping out in the dark, and you know, all we can hear are the vampires kind of like howling in the dark woods, and it is pretty darn scary. I also really like the acting between our two leads. They do seem like a kind of genuine couple, and I actually thought that kind of the dialogue seemed quite natural and quite realistic from like a real couple, as they kind of, you know, that they kind of banter and argue. That was all quite good. The male lead, I thought, is the spitting image of Tom Holland, who played Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming in Civil War. He almost looks like he might be the older brother. I mean, he's English as well, by the sounds of it, so you know, I was, wow, they should, but they'll be perfectly cast as an older and younger brother, actually. The story is quite lean. There's not massive amounts to it. I mean, we do have a kind of a few kind of twists and turns as we go through it, but ultimately, you know, it's a couple trapped on a mountain getting away from vampires. So, you know, what they're going to do in regards to the story. Is there any negatives for this film? The vampires themselves, although I do feel they were well handled in regards to being scary, I never felt I really got a good look at them, because it's such a dark film, and you kind of, all these vampires are kind of kept in darkness, and we hear the female actually describe them as having black eyes and fangs. To be honest with you, I never actually saw that, because they're just so kept in the dark all the time. So I maybe would have liked to have seen, you know, a little bit more of the vampires and actually physically what they kind of look like. So I felt it was a bit of a tease without kind of really kind of showing you much, to be honest. And when we do see them, it's the typical kind of like bald guys kind of running around semi-naked. I don't know, it seems like a bit of a cliche to me, to be quite honest with you. There are some odd plot choices here, I would say. You know, we're told that the people shouldn't go into the grey areas, and it's kind of hinted at that people know why. So I just don't know why anyone would go up there, and the kind of it seems like the mythology and the world building is just a tad lacking in this film. So that was a little bit kind of silly. I think Nicholas Brendon as well is hamming it up quite a lot here, and almost seems like he's in a kind of a different movie, just kind of winking at the audience. Remember me? I was from Buffy. This is kind of what I'm doing in these days. So that was a bit of a weird one. But it's a good film. I mean, my critiques are minor. I feel this is a solid vampire film, and it's a solid horror film. But don't be expecting to see a whole lot on the screen, because you really don't. I mean, there are some nice shots in regards to kind of the the woodland, and there's kind of like this old building and stuff. But I felt a little bit cheated that I really didn't see too much of the actual vampires themselves. It's not a found footage, but it almost feels like, you know, when you see these found footage films, you only ever really get a flash and you never really get a good look. This doesn't have that excuse because it's not a found footage film, and in a way you even see even less than you would do, because normally you have the reveal at the end and you don't have it with this one. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was well made. I liked the characters, and I thought there was some great scary elements there. So I'll give this movie a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.